तो हम बात कर रहे हैं आज बायनोमियल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की। ओके, तो बायनोमियल रिप्रेजेंटेशन बायनोमियल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन may be represented like this। एक b लिखा होगा और ब्रैकेट लिखा होगा, और in the bracket you'll have two perimeters inside. One of them would be n, one of them would be p. We'll shortly talk about what is this n and what is this p. And then the formula for binomial distribution is you're finding a certain probability. इसकी भी हम बात करेंगे. What is this? X is equals to R. That's equals to N C R probability P N minus R Q, sorry, P power N and Q power N minus 1. You've seen this formula before in binomial distribution in AS. Now this n is the number of outcomes. Number of events, sorry. P is the probability of success. Q is probability of failure. And R is the number of times an event should occur. Okay, these are all details about finding the probability when the distribution is binomial. Okay, next we're going to talk about conditions that should meet before you can apply this formula or before you can apply binomial distribution. Condition or assumptions of binomial distribution. I'm saying B, D. Okay. Before I write these conditions down, I'm going to do an example question and then we will talk about the conditions. Okay, here's the example question. A dice is thrown 10 times. Calculate the probability of getting a 6 part A 3 times Part B, less than 3 times. Part C, greater than and equal to 3 times. And part D, sorry, it's not 3 times here, it's 8 times. And part D, it is greater than 3 times. More than 3 times. Okay, let me also write the formula at the top. So formula for binomial distribution is, the distribution should be binomial. The perimeters you must know should be N and P. And the formula is probability. X equals R would be N C R P N minus R Q R. Sorry, P power R Q N minus R. ये फॉर्मूला बाय द वे गिवन होता है फॉर्मूला शीट पे. Okay. So let's apply the formula. It is binomial distribution. We'll talk about that in the conditions in a bit. कि कैसे पता है कि binomial distribution है. इसकी अभी बात करते हैं. फिलहाल let's assume it's binomial distribution. N इसका है 10 times. P इसका होगा probability of success. So what is the probability of success of getting a 6 when a dice is thrown? Probability of getting a 6 would be 1 upon 6. So P, the probability of success is 1 over 6. So 1 over 6. Okay. Q is probability of failure, which is 1 minus P, which would be 1 minus 1 upon 6, which would be 5 upon 6. Okay. So N is 10, P is 1 upon 6, Q is 5 upon 6, and R is 3 for the first part. So in the first part, you're finding probability capital X equals 3. You're finding the probability that when you toss, a dice is thrown 10 times, that when you throw a dice 10 times, 3 times you get a 6. So that is going to be 10 C3. Probability of success is 1 by 6 power 3, and then 5 by 6, which is the probability of failure, power 10 minus 3, which is 7. This would come out to be 0.155045. So you write a long answer first, and then if it's a never-ending answer, then you round it off to 3 significant figures. Otherwise, you leave it as it is. Next part is that you get a 6 less than 3 times. Probability X is less than 3. Now, these are a few cases. Maybe you don't get 6 in any one of those 10th rows. So that is probability x equals 0. You do not get any 6 in the 10th rows. Or you just get 1 6 in those 10th rows. Or you get 2 6s in those 10th rows. So you have to find all these probabilities and add them. So probability x is less than 3 would be probability 0 or probability 1 or probability 2. So that's going to be for 0, it's going to be 10 C 0. Probability of success is 1 by 6 power 0. Probability of failure is 5 by 6 power 10 minus 0, which is 10, plus probability x equals 1 would be 10C1, 1 by 6 power 1, 5 by 6 power 9, plus 10C2, 1 by 6 power 2, 5 by 6 power 8. I haven't written the actual answer with me, but you enter all of this in your calculator and then sum it, and that would be the answer. Next is probability that you get 6s more than 8 times. So for part C, it's going to be probability x is greater than 8. So that means either you get the 6s in 9 of the 10th rows, probability x equals 9, or you get the 6s in all of the 10th rows. So you have to find probability x equals 9 and probability x is equals to 10. Is it more than or more than equals to? Greater than and equals to 8. So we must also add probability x equals 8. Okay, so this one is going to be 10C9. Probability of success 1 by 6 power 9, 5 by 6 power 1, plus 10C10, 1 by 6 power 0, 5 by 6 power 10, plus 10C8. I should have written this first, but chalo miss ho gaya. You can write it later. 1 by 6 power 8 and 5 by 6 power 2. मुझे लगता है यहाँ मैंने कुछ गलत किया, इधर 9 था और यहाँ इधर 10 था और यहाँ पे डिफरेंस 0. It's NCR, then P power R and Q power N minus R. Yes. So you find this value. You find these 3 individual values and sum them. Okay. And part D is, I believe, greater than 3. More than 3 times. Yes. So in part D, its probability x is greater than 3. And this one was greater than equals to 3. Okay. C was greater than equals to 3. This one is just greater than 3. So greater than 3 has so many cases. Probability x equals 4 plus probability x equals 5 all the way till probability x is equals to 10. This is going to be very lengthy and it is not recommended. Instead, what you'll do is you're going to do 1 minus probability x equals 0 plus probability x equals 1 plus probability x equals to 2 and plus probability x equals to 3. You're going to add 3 to it because it says greater than 3. So this is going to be 1 minus x equals to 0 means that in those 10th rows, you do not get any 6. So that's going to be 10C0, 1 by 6 power 0, 5 by 6 power difference, which is 10. Then 10C1, 1 by 6 power 1, 5 by 6 power 9. Then 10C2, 1 by 6 power 2, and 5 by 6 power 8. And then 10C3, 1 by 6 power 3, 5 by 8 power 7. You have to be very careful when you enter this in your calculator. You must check 2 or 3 times, because even if you make a slight mistake in entering all of this in the calculator, that you will get incorrect answer, and then there's going to be a huge penalty for that, of course, when you don't get an accurate answer. So do double check or triple check the entering of these expressions in the calculator. Okay. Now that we've done one example on finding the probabilities in a binomial distribution, let's go back to the conditions or the assumptions that are made before applying the binomial distribution formula. Okay. So if the distribution is binomial, then there are certain conditions that should be met. And in some of the questions, they do ask that state 2 conditions that must hold true for the distribution to be binomial. So you must remember this. Okay, what are those conditions? Part 1. There should be only 2 possibilities. Only 2 outcomes, yeah, possibilities. Okay. Outcomes is not a correct word. Possibilities is better. Okay. What are the 2 possibilities here? Calculate the probability of getting a 6. So it was 6, getting a 6 or not getting a 6. So it was 1 by 6 or 5 by 6. So in this case, it was getting 6 or not getting a 6. And it could also be a head or a tail. Those are also 2 possibilities. So if the question is on binomial distribution, you will only have 2 possibilities. एक की probability को हम P कहेंगे, the probability of success, the probability that the event is occurring, जैसे 1 by 6, 6 आने की probability is 1 by 6. And the other possibility is when the event is not occurring, like in this case, you are not getting a 6. So that's going to be 5 by 6, which is Q equals 5 by 6. Okay. The second condition is events must be independent. These 2 possibilities that we've mentioned above must be independent. The 2 possibilities must be independent. By the way, possibilities की जगह outcome is a better word, क्योंकि outcome तो 2 ही है, 6 or no 6. So outcome would be a better word. Anyway, the 2 outcomes must be independent. So when you throw a die, every outcome is independent. पहले 1 आया तो दोबारा 1 आ भी सकता है, दोबारा 1 नहीं भी आ सकता. So every next outcome is independent of the previous outcome. So yes, it is true. These two outcomes mentioned in the question, getting a 6 or not getting a 6, are completely independent of each other. ये नहीं हो गया कि अब एक दफा 6 आ गया तो अगली दफा 6 नहीं आ सकता. So the outcomes are independent. उसके बाद probability of success is a constant. Probability of success is constant. हर दफा 6 आने की probability 1/6 है. तो ये नहीं होगा कि एक दफा 6 आया तो probability 1/6 है, अगली दफा 6 आने की probability 1/5 है. So it's a binomial distribution if the probability of success stays the same. So अगर आप किसी बॉक्स में से बॉल निकाल रहे हो, रेड बॉल लेट्स से निकाल रहे हो, तो फिर probability of success कांस्टेंट नहीं होगी. एक बॉल अगर निकाल के साइड पे रख दिया, मतलब विदाउट रिप्लेसमेंट का अगर क्वेश्चन है, तो नेक्स्ट टाइम रेड बॉल निकालने की probability चेंज हो जाएगी. So that won't be a binomial distribution. But the case discussed here is a binomial distribution because probability of success stays 1/6 in every throw. Okay. And the last condition is that the number of outcomes are fixed. Number of trials, balki is a better word. Number of trials are fixed. Like in this case, there are 10 trials. Or it could be 20 trials, even it could be 100 trials, but they are fixed. So then it is a probability distribution, and then you can apply the formula for finding the probability of an event occurring r times. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to the formula. And I'm going to write two more formulas here. So if the distribution is binomial and an n is given to you and a p is given to you, then you can also find the expected value of the outcomes. It's called expected value, which is the same as mean in grouped or ungrouped data. So here in binomial distribution, it's called expected value. And the formula for this is n times p. And the formula for standard deviation is square root n p q, or can be also written as square root np 1 minus p, because q is 1 minus p. This is standard deviation. So that means if you're asked to find variance, that is the square of the standard deviation, and that's just going to be npq. Okay. Another example question. Given that, आपकी अभी कोई और क्लास तो नहीं है then?
नहीं मैम नहीं.
Okay. H is an event which is a binomial which has binomial distribution, and these parameters are given. Calculate the probability that H occurs, part A, exactly 5 times 5 or 6 times, at least 8 times, more than 2 times. Okay. So what do we know here? This is n, number of trials. This is P, the probability of success, which means Q would be 0.55, 1 minus 0.45. Okay. So in part A, formula would be probability X equals 5, so equals N C R, probability of success, power 5, probability of failure, power 9 minus 5, N minus R, which is 4. You'll calculate this in the calculator, write down the answer. Part B is probability X equals 5 or probability X equals 6. So we're going to sum these two probabilities. That is going to be, the first one is already calculated in the last part. You can directly use the result of the first part and then add 9C6 0.45 power 6, 0.55 power 4. Sorry, 3. Part C is at least 8 times. So 0 times or this event happens 0 times or 1 time. Acha, at least 8 times का ये मतलब नहीं है. At least 8 times means 8 times or 9 times. So probability X equals 8 or probability X equals 9. Okay, add these. So it's going to be 9C8, 0.45 power 8, 0.55 power 1, or means plus 9C9, 0.45 power 9, 0.55 power 0. Part D is more than 2 times. So that is probability X equals to 3 plus probability X equals to 4 plus all the way till probability X equals 9. That is going to be a very exhausting method if we end up using this. Instead, we're going to use 1 minus probability x equals 0 plus probability x equals 1 more than 2 times. So that means you will have to include 2 here. Okay, so this. So it's going to be 1 minus bracket 9C0, 0.45 power 0, 0.55 power 9, plus 9C1, 0.45 power 8, 0.55 power, ये मैंने गलत कर दिया, this was supposed to be 1, and that is supposed to be 8, and plus 9C2, 0.45 power 2, 0.55 power 7. Okay. Enter this in your calculator very carefully. You're more than welcome to enter these individually in the calculators, find the result, and then add them, and then later subtract the answer from 1. Marking scheme में usually यूं ही हुआ होता है, but you have to make sure that you do not round up, keep rounding it off. You can't use rounded off values. You have to use at least 4 to 5 decimal places for each one. So इसको लिखना है अगर individually तो 4-5 decimal place तक लिखना है, और फिर end में उसको 1 से minus कर देना. Okay, or enter it collectively in the calculator and get the final answer. But then you have to be very careful about what you're entering in the calculator. So that will be all for today.